Okay, I'm going to tell you about Mr. Ogie Shaw. He's a graduate of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with BA degrees in both speech and physical education. He also holds a Master of Sacred Ministry degree from Multnomah Biblical Seminary in Portland, Oregon, and he earned a certificate as a Cooper-trained health promotion director from the world-renowned Cooper Institute in Dallas, Texas. His athletics career, he played on 2 state championship baseball teams in high school. He was an outstanding Army football and basketball player, studied karate in Japan, and holds a 2nd degree black belt. He won 1st place in the Carolina Karate Tournament. He served 4 years in the U.S. Army and was presented the Army Commendation Medal for his work in military intelligence in Vietnam. He has served as Brigade Fitness Director for the Oregon National Guard. He is a lot of things. He is an accomplished musician, having done studio recordings, TV shows, and international tours. He was presented the 1975 North Carolina State University International Student Award for his work with foreign students, and he was a scholarship participant in the North Carolina Outward Bound School. He was recruited to the Northwest by the Portland Police Bureau and presented a commendation by Chief Bruce Baker after only 2 months as a Portland police officer. He worked as a counselor for the Janus Youth Programs and served as a volunteer counselor for the Portland Vet Center. He served for 3 years on the Human Rights Advisory Commission for the City of Beaverton. He has served for over 28 years as volunteer pastor at Patton and McDonald Retirement Homes in Portland, Oregon. He served as the fitness and health writer for the Valley Times and the Hillsborough Argus newspapers. He has served as a speaker at the governor's safety conferences in both Oregon and Washington, was nominated for the board of directors for the Oregon Public Health Association, has lectured at over a dozen Northwest colleges and universities, and in 1979 he designed an off-season conditioning program for the Portland Trailblazers. He has served as a consultant and instructor for the Seattle Seahawks in the use of isokinetic aerobic exercise, and he has given over 4,000 talks on fitness motivation. He is the executive director of Community Fitness Leaders, which is a training program for health and fitness professionals, and he is president of Ogie Shaw Fitness in Beaverton, Oregon. And he also has an amazing TED Talk on YouTube that you should check out. Come on up, Mr. Shaw.
Wow. We'll see how you feel when I'm done. Okay, well, let me just say that I am Oregon's longest surviving full-time fitness consultant. I've been giving this talk now, well, next month will be 43 years. I've been giving this talk as a part of a national network of medical and fitness leaders who've been looking for ways to improve the effectiveness of exercise programs. We got interested in exercise in this country about 1956 during the Eisenhower administration. Found that the military was noticing it was becoming increasingly difficult to find young American men who could pass the induction physical for the military. They looked into the public schools and some researchers had done tests involving the ability of our kids to perform functional movements, which are like everyday things that most of us have to do during the course of our day. Can you bend over and touch your toes? Can you stand up and sit down out of that chair 12 times in a row without using your arms to help you get up? These are functional things. Well, we thought that was the dumbest idea anybody ever come up with to test kids for physical fitness, because we think kids are fit just because they're young. 57.8% of our kids failed that test. We said, look, that can't be right. If that's true, we have the most unfit kids in the world, and that's just not possible. So they decided to take the test to kids, give it to kids in Europe, thinking there's something wrong with the test, and it'll show up with the European kids as well. Well, in Europe, on a test that 57.8% of American kids failed, 7% of the kids in Europe failed. They took it to Australia, it was 5%, New Zealand 3%, we finally got the picture. We came back and started what eventually became the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports. And now for the past 40, 50 years, everywhere you look, somebody's been trying to put you and the kids in your community on exercise programs. Then we got another right idea. Why don't we check to see how fit we've become? 40% of us are still enthusiastically avoiding exercise. 50% are exercising and still in lousy shape. About 10% are keeping fit. University of Indiana measured the fitness level of 4 million kids between 6 and 17 years of age and found that in the middle of all this hoopla about exercise, 57% of our kids are still failing fitness tests. and they say they're worse now than they were 30 years ago. We find 14 to 19-year-old kids with 40% blockage of coronary arteries. What used to be called adult onset diabetes is showing up in kids between 4 and 10 years of age. And they now say we're raising the first generation that will have a shorter life expectancy than either their parents or grandparents. It has never before happened in our history. The state of Oregon has the highest rate of obesity of any state west of the Rockies. Our public schools are being gutted because of budget cuts. The first thing we shut down is physical education. They formed an Oregon Health Policy Commission to tell us how to solve our problem. That is a 65-page report which said we don't know how to solve this problem. But they did tell us this. Children's behaviors are substantially affected by the influential adults in their lives, parents, grandparents, and teachers. Efforts to address childhood obesity in Oregon will not be successful unless they also include interventions that influence the healthy eating and physical activity behaviors of adults as well as children. You are your kids' and grandkids' best personal trainer. The best way to project what the kids in this community will be like 20, 30 years from now in terms of fitness is for you to take a good look in the mirror. You are it. So how many of you get all the exercise you need? That's it. Looks like you got me here just in time. Not looking good, is it? Okay. Well, how many of you don't get the exercise you need? Well, at least they can raise those arms. Okay, good. Right. But for the past 30, 40 years, nobody in this room has been able to pick up a major magazine or a newspaper without seeing an article on exercise. You go home today, turn on your radio or TV any time of day or night, and you'll see something talking about exercise. And still, most of you readily admit that you're not doing it. And you look real intelligent. So I'm assuming you thought this through. And you've intentionally decided you're not going to do it. But what is your reason for not doing it? I like to hear it. What keeps you from getting it done? Lazy, okay, got an honest one here. Okay. Time, okay, lazy time, anything else?
Born with a perfect body.
Born with a perfect, don't need it. Don't need it, okay, all right, good. Okay, so we have three problems. We have time, we have lazy, and we have delusional. Okay. All right, well, let's take the first two. Every time we in the medical and fitness field have been bold enough to ask the American people, why don't you do it? You've been incredibly honest and you've been incredibly consistent. You said two things: I don't have time and I'm too lazy to do it, even when I do have time. Or the way one guy in South Carolina said it, I swear after college I'd never sweat again. That is the definition of commitment. But let's call it motivation. I don't have time, I don't know how to stay motivated. We asked you again, and guess what you said? I don't have time, I don't know how to stay motivated. You started to sound like a broken record. And you would think every medical and fitness leader who understood this problem and cared would have scheduled a national convention, got into a big room, and said, let's just solve these two problems. It has never happened. As fitness leaders, we are not trained to deal with, I don't have time, and I don't know how to stay motivated to exercise. I almost changed my major at the University of North Carolina. When I heard some guy in California say, exercise to my wife is to take a bath, pull the plug, and fight the current. I almost changed my major. I said, hey, what do you do with that, you know? But what we've been trained to tell you as physical educators is just make your exercise program fun. Over 90% of the fitness leaders in this country today, if you ask them how do you get people motivated, just say make it fun. They'll say just make it fun. And over the past 43 years, I put over 10,000 people on exercise programs, and I promise you, Rotarians, I've learned a lot about exercise. One of the things I've learned is, if what you're doing for exercise is fun, I guarantee you, you're not doing it right. There are physiological requirements that must be met in order to benefit from your exercise program, whether it's fun or not. The intensity, the duration, the frequency of your exercise are all more important than whether or not it's fun. You must work every muscle in the body, the cardiovascular system, flexibility, muscle balance, muscle strength, in that order of importance, and there's no single activity or exercise that we know of that adequately works the total body. If you don't sit down and design a complete set of exercise to work the total body, it isn't going to happen. We had a guy in Seattle who won the Mr. Washington bodybuilding title. Guess what he liked to do? He liked to have a lot of fun in the gym lifting weights with his buddies. Won the Mr. Washington bodybuilding title, and 3 days later failed a 5-minute cardiovascular endurance test with the Seattle Police Department. It was front page news. I'm not impressed anymore when people tell me how much fun they have exercising or how much time they spend doing it. I start wondering whether or not they're fit at all. So how do you solve the problem? Well, I was speaking to the University Rotary Club in Seattle, and one of the members came up when I was done and said, I'm one of the editors for Prentice Hall Publishing. We're the largest publishing company in America. We have a waiting list of people that want to write books for us on exercise. Nobody's telling us how to stay motivated. And what you told us here today makes more sense than anything I've heard anywhere in the country. We do a book for my company on fitness motivation. I said, sure. That was 30 years ago. Haven't gotten motivated to do it yet. But what I said was, the problem with fitness is we don't know what fitness is. And the reason we don't know what fitness is because there's no such thing as generic fitness. Fitness is activity specific. If you don't tell me what you're trying to get fit for, I can't help you and you can't help yourself. So what is the most universal appeal I can make for physical fitness? What is the most universal reason I can ask you to get fit? And it's this: health. Exercise being called the best medicine in America today, outperforming almost every prescribed medication in the country in terms of its overall impact on our health. Everything from colds and flu to cancer is impacted by exercise. And it hasn't always been that way. See, back in the 60s, if you went to a hospital with a heart attack, the doctors would say, don't move. We will feed you. Just don't move. But moving is harmful. And Dr. Ken Cooper almost had his medical license pulled when he started going around saying, hey, get in shape, cardiovascularly, use aerobic exercise, and you can greatly reduce your risk of heart attacks. And he did, and proved it through scientific research. And now the Chinese are about to open up their Cooper Institute in China. Why? Because this man has done more to show the relationship between exercise and health than anybody else on the planet. And we're not even taking advantage of it. It's right in your backyard. If you haven't found out what the Cooper Institute is doing, please call them up. Get on their mailing list. They have information that will just blow you away. Still is coming out. They're going into the public schools and showing that not only can we use exercise to improve attendance and behavior, but grade point average. And even like attendance. They say 90% of success in life is just showing up. You want them to show up? Get in shape. But you're going to have to help model that behavior. So here's some things that I've learned about physical fitness that were not being taught when I went through school, and I wish it had. Would have made my life a whole bunch easier. But the average personal trainer quits after 6 months of trying to teach you what we've been trained to teach. So here's what I learned that they don't teach anymore. Or, well, some people do, but they're really out there. They're really going to have some problems. But the internet's out there. You can Google this stuff, and it'll make a big difference in your ability to do things the correct way. Work out every day. The American College of Sports Medicine says we have reversed our recommendation on the frequency of exercise from 3 days a week to 7 days a week, because 3 days a week hasn't worked by 80% of the American people. I said, thank you. I've been saying that for 30 years. It's easier to work out every day than it is to work out 3 days a week. 3 days a week gives you too many choices. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Can I skip the day and double up tomorrow? If you're negotiating about whether or not you're going to work out, it's pretty much over. Okay? You're too good at coming up with reasons. One guy said he got in his car, decided to go to Health Club, got down to the intersection, the light turned red. He said, that's a sign, turned around, went back home. Work out every day. If you're breathing, you work out. That's simple. Do it first thing in the morning. You have a 300% greater chance of getting it done because you have more control over your schedule first thing in the morning than any other time of day. Confine your workout time to 20 minutes or less. The more time you spend exercising, the less likely you are to do it, the more likely you are to get injured, which will keep you from doing it anyway. And the fitness habit you're going to learn at some point is extremely fragile. Work against resistance. Why? Because the most important rule in exercise that affects your time is called the overload principle. The overload principle says no benefit occurs in anything you want to call exercise until you get tired. All fitness is your body adapting to the demands that you place on it. That's what the military does. They train their people, they're so tired they can't believe it. But after 2 weeks of doing that, hey, they're doing pretty good. Now they'll jump out of airplanes and do all kinds of crazy things that they wouldn't have done before they got in shape. Because it's not only sharpening the body, sharpening your mind. And that's why they train them that way. But the problem is, as you become more fit, what's happening to the amount of time it takes you to get tired? Yeah. So they found in the public schools, when they asked high school and junior high school boys to do as many push-ups they could every day for a year until they got tired, the boys who could do 5 push-ups on the first day, after a year, did between 100 and 120 to get to the same level of fatigue that 5 got on the first day. And we're talking major league boredom, even if you do have time to do it. So then we said, well, let's just go on a diet. Don't ever diet another day the rest of your life. Eat for nutrition. Never, ever, ever eat for weight loss. And never make any change in the way you eat that you're not willing to make permanent. But when they surveyed the American people and they asked, how many of you eat the way you know you should? 80% of us said, not me. They said, why not? They said, we're confused. We get most of our information about nutrition from the media, and the media's job is not to educate us, is to entertain us with controversy. So you eat an article on calcium, and for a whole week, everything you eat has to have calcium in it until next week. Then it's potassium. What happened to calcium? I don't know. It's potassium week. And then you notice how they contradict what they told you the week before. 1 week, eggs are wonderful. Next week, eggs are horrible. Yeah. And some of you got so frustrated and cynical with nutrition now, you're sitting back and saying, I'll just wait until they come out with the article agreeing with whatever I want to do. I like chocolate. I'll wait. And 2 years ago, the chocolate article came out, didn't it? See, I'm not making this stuff up. The article said chocolate stops heart disease. People were photocopying that thing, laminating it, putting it on the fridge. I can eat all the chocolate I want. If anybody calls me, I just point to the article. You're obviously not informed. No, we laugh, but that's exactly what's happening. We are the most confused nation in the world when it comes to nutrition. A friend of mine is a certified fitness instructor at the Cooper Institute, and he introduced me to their nutrition director, Dr. Roy Vartabedian, who said something I never heard a nutritionist say. He said, after I got my master's degree in nutrition, I realized that the more I learned about nutrition, the more confusing nutrition was becoming. He said, it used to be simple. All we did was count calories. You went to the supermarket, you got foods labeled low-cal, and that was about it. But now we've gotten sophisticated. We identified 18 nutritional variables in the foods that we eat. I think 18 excessive things 18 nutrients and about 8 excessives that we want to avoid, the salts, fats, sugars, caffeine. So we got 26 different items we need to keep track of today. We have so much research on it, you need a calculator to go food shopping, and even professionals in nutrition, he said, are just guessing. So he decided to come up with a way to grade over 3,000 foods being eaten in this country in order to have you, make it easy for you to make better nutrition decisions. He went to the American Cancer Society and said, make the foods high in vitamin A and C higher points for eating those, because they will reduce cancer, our most feared cause of death. The American Dietetic Association said you can't get all your nutrients through 1 or 2 food groups. You got to name 6 food groups to get it through. Okay, we got that. And the American Heart Association said heart disease is still our #1 killer. Make sure that they're eating foods that are 30% fat or less, because it lowers the risk of heart disease. Well, they did that. They looked at over 3,000 foods being eaten in this country, everything from Gatorade to Big Mac. They gave each one a scientifically determined nutritional grade, put it into a formula and said this: eat foods out of 6 different food groups, these 6 food groups. Eat this number of servings, and try to make nutritional quality judgments or choices enough so that you get at least 100 nutritional points a day. He said, you can go over 100 points, but don't get over 100 points by eating more food, more volume of food, more servings, or bigger servings. Eat more food by eating better nutritional quality. Raise the nutritional quality. You want more bang for the buck. And so 100 points a day. If you can do that, he said, you will meet or exceed 100% of the recommended daily allowance, which 75% of it don't meet. You will lower your cancer risk, you will lower your heart disease risk, you will raise your metabolic rate and help control your weight, and you'll increase your energy level to make you more productive. It's being said in business today that the most The best bargain in American business today is a physically fit worker. They're outperforming workers who are not fit. They're seldom absent from the job because of illness or injury. They have a higher morale. They get along with people much better, all because they're physically fit. Huge deal, but you gotta do it. You can't just pay lip service. You can't just feel guilty. You gotta do it. And so, how do we get you to do it? So let's see how you do it today. I put this information into a book that became a New York Times bestseller, now published in 10 different languages, called Nutritious. It was intended to be a companion for the aerobics exercise point system. But the way it works is this. You write down what you eat and you look it up and see how many points you got. Well, you started out this morning with the official breakfast of Rotary International. Glazed donuts and coffee. Nutritional value of your donut, minus 2.5 points. Now, minus before the number means this food alone will not sustain human life. If you don't eat something in addition to your glazed donut, you will die. Is this motivating? Cup of coffee, minus 3.5 points for each cup. So your 6 points in the nutrition hole, your day hasn't even started. This is your energy base for the day, and you wonder why you're tired. An apple gives you 4 points, and orange 13. Top-rated fruit, 29 points. 50 times the vitamin A of an apple, 10 times the vitamin C of an apple, and more of every nutrient there is than you get from an apple, but an apple gets all the publicity as being a really nutritious fruit. Well, what's the truth? What in your mind, what is the most nutritious fruit you can choose?
I eat them plantains.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Plantains, all right? Anything else? Well, plantain, let's call it a banana, okay? For those of you who are not familiar, it's just a South American version of bananas, and I went on a mission tour for my church, and we got down. I don't like bananas. When I was a kid, my dad brought home a big barrel of bananas, and I jumped in. Since then, I don't like bananas. But I can eat plantains off the tree in South America. That was better. Okay? Just a big banana, and they boil them and do all kinds of crazy things with them. But a banana is only 9 points. It doesn't even beat an orange. Anything else? What do you think is the most nutritious fruit? Kiwi, not kiwi, no. Blueberries.
Raspberries.
Okay. Your judgment to be no better than your information. Where are you getting this stuff?
Mango. I tried mango.
Well, mango is getting up there, but it's still not 29 points.
Pineapple.
Not pineapple. Oatmeal? We'll talk later. fruit. Okay. All right.
Can't eat fruit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you
The
go.
only fruit I can eat is a strawberry and a cantaloupe.
Okay, well, strawberries is 19 points, and the top-rated fruit is cantaloupe! Okay, 29 points. The best nutrition bargain in the fruit category. Find it and eat it, okay? Make your salad with iceberg lettuce, 18 points. Tweak your salad, choose romaine lettuce, 47 points of energy. And if you're really sharp, you choose spinach every day of the week because you get 79 points.
Wow.
Or excuse me, 75 points. 75 points, but get this, they all three have only 10 calories. It's not about the calories, it's about the nutrients that you can take in. Your body's never for one day been hungry for a single calorie. Your body's hungry for nutrients. We have an international reputation for giving our citizens food low in nutrition but high in calories. Your body uses up the few nutrients that are there, stores the rest of the calories as fat, and then says, feed me, I'm still hungry. And since we as a nation have been eating for weight loss, our obesity rate has doubled. We are now twice as fat as a nation as we were 30 years ago when everybody started dieting to try to control our weight. We are now said to be the fattest group of Americans that have ever lived. So look around the room and congratulate each other. Now this book is not sold in stores. I'll pass it out. You can take a look at it. If you want to know how you can get these, I'll show you how you can get them and save a little money on the cost. And these are some charts that Dr. Bartavini is using that shows the top 30 foods in 6 different food groups, 180 of the most nutritious foods there are. And then on the back side shows the bottom 30 foods, the worst 30 foods you can find, nutritionally speaking. Don't be in the same room with those foods. And there's a children's version of this information now. They're calling Nutri-Heroes and Nutri-Zeros, and a lot of families are starting to use these as placemats just to get this information in the minds of their kids. One last thing on nutrition, I'll move on. Don't believe that weight loss tells you that your exercise program is working. One lady started a 15-mile-a-week jogging program expecting to lose weight. She gained 8 pounds, but dropped 6 dress sizes because muscle is heavier than fat and takes up less space. So for 30 years, whenever I speak, I've been carrying this little machine around with me. It's called a skin fold caliper. Half the fat in your body is stored directly beneath the skin, and I can pinch the thickness of your skin in the upper back and the thigh for men, upper arm and the waistline for women, and fairly accurately tell you how much body fat you have. You women shouldn't carry more than 20%, men no more than 15%, and you cannot tell by looking how much fat is there. There's a lot of thin, fat people in this country today, okay, particularly those who diet a lot. Because you lose the muscle mass, it slows down the metabolism, you end up with proportionally more fat than you started with, and you're looking in the mirror going, I made it, but is this it? Is everything hanging? Okay? So we pinch the thickness of the skin and tell you where you are. Now, I'll stay around and do this for anybody who wants to have it done when I'm finished, because it's the quickest way I know to clear the room. But if you don't have a skin fold caliper, find yourself a tape measure, because if you're losing inches but you're not losing pounds, you're losing fat, and that is a good thing. What should your shape be? One lady started a 15-mile-a-week jogging program expecting to lose weight. She gained 8 pounds but dropped 6 dress sizes because muscle is heavier than fat, takes up less space. And we keep talking about looking good. What does it mean? A lady at the University of Oregon did a doctoral thesis on the ideal shape of a woman's body. They came up with what they call a figure formula. Put the measurements into a computer and it spat out this formula. A woman should measure her wrist in front of the bone. And a woman's shape should be this. Her chest should be 6 times the size of her wrist. And there are health implications associated with the shape of everyone in here. A woman's chest should be 6 times her wrist. Her waistline should be 4.5 times her wrist. And her hips should be 6 times her wrist. So if she has a 6-inch wrist, her ideal shape, 36, 27, 36. Now men, what you just heard, forget it. Don't repeat it. Do not go home with a tape measure in hand and say, honey, give me your wrist. Just let it go. I warned you, okay? Now here's your formula. You men should have at least a 6-inch difference between the size of your chest and the size of your waist. And your chest should be the larger of the two. According to Metropolitan Life Insurance table, for every inch that your waistline is bigger than your chest, you knock 2 years off your life expectancy. And if your waistline is so out of control, men, that it's now bigger than your hip measurement, your rate of colon cancer just went up 300%. It's called the metabolic syndrome. Look it up on the internet. And finally, here's how you fit exercise into your busy schedule. Remember the overload principle said you had to get tired? It never said anything about how much time you have to spend. Time is one of the most oversold variables in fitness today. The more time we spend, the more fit we are. I've done 3 24-hour workouts studying karate in Japan in a karate school that was so intense and so hard that they refused to teach Americans. Because they think we were such physical wimps, and they were right. It was the hardest thing I ever did. But I committed to it, and I suffered for 1.5 years and earned the second fastest black belt I think they ever gave out. But I was so fed up with karate by the time I finished it and I came back to the States, I never wanted to see a karate school or karate gi again. And the only reason I started teaching is because my instructor asked me to start teaching Americans. I was one of the first Americans to start teaching this method, this style of karate. But the thing that we look for is a way to get tired faster, you know, and you can do that by speeding things up. You can do it by adding resistance. So now we have people who take a dumbbell and go for a walk. You seen that yet? We have people swimming with weighted gloves or doing aerobics with weight strapped to their ankle. The problem is 70% of us have bad backs, and 43 million have some form of arthritis. And doctors say don't do any lifting, nothing that compresses your spine, tightens your back, or stresses your joint. Which means to a physical educator like me, no push-ups, no sit-ups, no jumping jacks. Everything I was trained to teach as a physical educator, most of the people in this room can't do because of your joint problems. You really are a lost cause. And that's why a lot of colleges are cutting back on their fitness majors program. Washington State had me speak to their fitness majors. They've gone from 150 fitness majors down to 850 majors to 250. Oregon State is down to 1/3 of what they used to be in their fitness majors. Washington State asked me to put in an application to become an adjunct professor to teach my solution to their fitness majors. So what am I teaching these fitness majors that they're so pumped up about? Well, here's what I've been saying. We tried to solve this problem about 40 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, was something called isometric exercise. Anybody remember that? They call it dynamic tension. You push push or pull without moving for 10 seconds as hard as you can, and your strength level will go up daily until you hit maximum strength. It's true, scientifically proven. Yeah, that's what will happen. It is the most worthless piece of information we have ever taught you. If you can push without moving for 10 seconds and you find your heart rate elevates to an aerobic level, see your doctor today. No cardiovascular benefit in that exercise, no flexibility improvement, and you build strength only at the angle that you push or pull. So if you want to be a nutcracker, this works real well. But other than that, you're just wasting 10 seconds. Well, weightlifters complain that once you got a weight in motion, the momentum helped the weight to move, and the muscle did nothing. The muscle basically took a vacation. So a 90-pound weight that you curl to build big biceps, once it leaves your knees, it gets up to about waist high, and you're working against half of that 90-pound weight. You got 45 pounds that you're working against. But at this 90-degree angle, you're twice as strong. So you can handle 180 if you can keep the weight up to 180, but you can't even keep it at 90. And so the weightlifts end up with these bodies where the bodies were incompletely developed. They had short chopping muscles. They walked around, lost their flexibility, veins in their teeth, and waving their flexible arms down here because they couldn't get it up. And the weightlifters were saying that you can figure out how to control the resistance, work through the range of motion at a level that each person can do. Said you will not only help us get stronger, but we'll do it in a fraction of the time that we're spending right now. And they were right. Coach coordinator for the Olympic weightlifting team said weightlifters who use a machine to control the resistance in their exercise are getting so much stronger that the ones who don't can't compete with them in Olympic weightlifting competition. Women at weight loss camps train for 12 minutes a day using controlled resistance machines. And in 12 minutes a day, had a 19% greater fat loss, 19% greater loss of inches, and a 15% greater weight loss than women who ran around a track for 30 minutes and did 20 minutes of calisthenics, a 50-minute workout. The Physical Therapy magazine said it was the best method of exercise in America and the only way possible to involve 100% of the muscle fiber. And if you don't want to spend a lot of time, you got to make more efficient use of the time that you spend. And that's exactly what controlled resistance does. But here's the problem. The machines were costing over $139,000 back in the 60s, and today they'll cost you somewhere around $500,000 for some of these controlled resistance machines. The term for you physicians and medical people is isokinetic exercise. And the problem is the machines are so expensive that only health clubs and well-to-do physical therapy departments could afford it. And so that's what they did. They charge you membership fees. They come use mine. And I said, we solved the fitness problem. We just charge you a fee. Go to the health club and use the controlled resistance machines. And then we found that 82% of you who sign up never show up again within 30 days after you bought your lifetime membership. And we were back to square one. But in my CD at North Carolina, he told us about what they said was the best kept secret in fitness. 50 years ago, NASA was trying to put a man on the moon, and they had a problem. They needed a way to do weightlifting in zero gravity in order to stop the calcium loss from space travel. It was like an advanced form of osteoporosis. And they found a track coach who also had a problem. He had runners that he wanted to train who needed strength training, and they didn't want to do strength training. They didn't want to lift weights, but they needed strength training. And then he found some athlete shot putters and those people who needed strength, who needed cardiovascular training, and they didn't want to run. So everybody was frustrated. This coach came up with a way, through watching a firefighter come out of a burning building using a rappelling device called the Sky Genie. And he took that idea, went to an engineer and said, design me an exercise program around this method of exercise. And he did. The exercise device, the first one was called an Extra Genie. They took that little machine, put their track teams on it, won 2 national titles and only 2 scholarship athletes on the team. NASA found out about it when the guy was giving a talk at a service club in Sunnyvale, California. And the guy stood up in the middle of his talk and said, you just solved the problem of fitness in outer space. And 3 days later, they had him out of coaching for the first time in 15 years, put him in charge of biomechanics lab with NASA, and gave him the responsibility of coming up with a workout that the astronauts could do, sitting in a chair, zero gravity, on their way to the moon. They called it one of the greatest things they ever come out of the space program. Wall Street Journal did a front page article after he took it to the moon. Department stores called up and promised the guy they could make it wealthy selling that machine. He turned them all down. He said that we will never allow this machine to become just another commercial fitness fad. And for the past 40 years, none of us have been able to go into any store in America and find these machines being sold. This guy went around the country hand-picking medical and fitness leaders that he thought were good motivators. and train them to go out and teach the American people how to apply this technology. I drove 300 miles to see my first demonstration by the inventor, and I was so impressed I immediately applied for a job. They had 8,200 medical and fitness leaders applying for only 32 openings. 6% had masters or doctors or MDs, and they wrote me the most beautiful rejection letter you ever saw. I kept applying. They finally gave me a job, and I worked my way up to become district director for Oregon, and then decided that it's not just about being able to be put on an exercise program. Somebody has to motivate us or show us how to stay motivated to stick with it. And so I started my own consulting company, started researching motivation, and that's what I do today. Have my own company in Beaverton where I work once a week with people on their fitness program, but not to work out with them, but just to measure the consequences of what they do. You see, here's the key to motivation. Accountability. Imagine this. You hear a knock on your door one day, you look out your window, I'm standing on your porch with this device looking for you, okay? Either you're gonna get in shape or leave town if you know I'm coming. So that's how I do that. So let me finish with this. I got on this exercise program, and in 30 days I did things I'd never done before. Did 101 push-ups and my heart rate went to only 95 beats a minute. Did 329 sit-ups in 15 minutes, and I ran a mile in less than 6 minutes for the first time in my life. Put the Seattle Seahawks on a program, the Trailblazers on a program, saw my wife lose an inch off of her hips in 6 days, but the most impressive thing came when I went to my son on his 3rd birthday. I said, you're 3 years old. You've had your fun. Time to get serious about life. By the time he was 5, he missed 2 days of exercise. He was outscoring 8 year boys on fitness tests. He could run a quarter of a mile in less than 2.5 minutes. He had a stronger exercise habit than 90% of the American people, because at my house, we don't talk about exercise the way you do. We don't try to make it fun. We don't invite the friends over, and we don't get new outfits. At my house, exercise is a daily health habit like brushing your teeth, and none of you call up your friends saying, let's get together and brush our teeth. That's a personal health habit. You take care of that, then we can get together. And so is exercise. We tried it your way. And 70% of our heart attacks are being traced to sporadic spurts of activity on weekends by people trying to recreate their way to physical fitness 1 and 2 days a week. And you're killing your body. Don't do it. 7 days a week, first thing in the morning, try to do something that you can do in less than 20 minutes or less. So I don't teach 30-minute workouts anymore to the phys ed majors. I teach 5 minutes a day, first thing in the morning, 7 days a week. And then I measure the consequences 1 day a week. So here's the types of things you measure. I want you to be flexible enough to sit on the floor with your legs straight and reach your fingertips 5 inches below past your toes for men and 7 inches past for women. And most of you will fail that test. 75% will fail it. Step up and down that chair you're sitting in for 3 consecutive minutes. Take the pulse for 15 seconds. Multiply the beats by 4. Your pulse shouldn't be above 144 beats a minute for men or 156 for women. If you can't handle a 16-inch chair, try an 8-inch stair in your home. And then keep the tape measurement out. If you do nothing else, measure the waistline for men. You're almost always dropping body fat as the waistline is dropping. For women, it's your hip measurement that is your big fat indicator. So you do those measurements, and 90% of you will stick with your exercise program. And here are the measurements that are impressing people. We did 30 days using the controlled resistance method that I teach, involving a 5-minute workout. You will drop your blood pressure, top number, 12 points, bottom number, 4 points. Your resting heart rate drops 8 beats a minute, which means your life expectancy is going up. Your flexibility score increases 5 inches, your strength scores go up, and most importantly, they say the pain stop. Okay? The pain stop. So I usually do a short demonstration of that workout, but I'll stay around the end for anybody who wants to see that. But let me finish with this. There's nothing that'll change your schedule, your financial picture faster than you losing your health. And there's no lasting health without a certain amount of exercise. Some doctors say 80% of the patients in their waiting rooms could have avoided being there had to been more successful exercise. You don't have time to exercise, then you better make time to be sick. And you better pull out the wallet while you're at it. And that's what's happening in the country today. We got to start with basics. We got to put fitness first in education and everything else we do in the workplace, or we're going to pay. And we are paying right now, folks, and that's the way out. So here's why I'm doing this talk, and I'm done. I'm going into any Rotary Club in America today and saying this. I want to talk to your members if they let me do that. I'm saying this. We need to get in shape, and not one Rotarian has objected. But the kids need to get in shape, and the schools have no money. So I'm saying any Rotary Club where I can get at least 6 people participating in this 500-a-day exercise program that I'm telling you about, I'll allow you to name any school in your area to which I will donate one of these machines to that school in the name of your club at no charge to you or the school. And I'll spend a day at the school teaching the staff and students how to make it a part of their lives, not just a part of the fitness program. So I have more information on that, but let me shut down here. And anybody have any quick questions I can answer? And I'll stay around and provide a short demonstration and some information about how you can participate in either of those programs, the book or whatever. Any questions at all? All right, great. Thank you very much.